Welcome to Global Hub Updates. Please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon for more updates. The world awoke to a headline that seemed impossible. NATO fleet annihilated, 12,847 dead. The numbers were so staggering, so sudden, that many refused to believe them at first. But the truth was undeniable, and it spread like wildfire across every news outlet and social feed. In a matter of seconds, the North Atlantic erupted in a pillar of radioactive fire and steam, a sight so apocalyptic it seemed torn from the pages of science fiction. The ocean itself became a weapon, transformed by unimaginable force. On September 8, 2025, at 14:03 GMT, a remote stretch of ocean west of Ireland, NATO's most secure military zone, became a graveyard. This was a place thought to be untouchable, guarded by the world's most advanced technology and constant vigilance. Dozens of advanced warships, symbols of Western unity and power, vanished in a blinding flash. In an instant, decades of military investment and strategy were reduced to nothing but wreckage and silence. The explosion was seismic, registering across Europe, and left no warning for the sailors at its heart. The shockwave rippled outward, both physically and psychologically, shaking the foundations of global security. A lone reconnaissance plane's distress call was cut short. Satellites captured thermal images so intense, they were thought to be errors. The data was so extreme, analysts initially believed their instruments had malfunctioned. The world watched, stunned, as the truth emerged. This was no accident. The realization dawned slowly, then all at once as experts confirmed the unthinkable. It was a deliberate, devastating act of war. The implications were immediate and terrifying, as leaders scrambled to respond to a threat they had never truly prepared for. In just 14 seconds, the pinnacle of NATO's naval might was erased. The ocean swallowed the fleet, leaving only burning debris and radioactive waves behind. The weapon responsible was Russia's Poseidon nuclear torpedo, an autonomous underwater drone with a multi-megaton warhead. Designed to evade all defenses, it struck with silent, unstoppable precision. The rules of warfare changed in an instant, written in fire and radioactive seawater. The world's militaries were forced to confront a new reality, one where old doctrines no longer applied. The age of conventional naval dominance ended that day. The balance of power, once so carefully maintained, was shattered beyond repair. The world's most powerful fleet was gone, and a new era of terror had begun. The ocean, once a symbol of freedom and exploration, had become a graveyard and a warning. The digital ghost of that headline haunted every screen from New York to Tokyo. No one could escape the images or the implications, as fear spread faster than the news itself. The shock soon gave way to fear. This was a weapon many thought was only propaganda. Now, it was a grim reality, and the world's sense of safety was shattered. The Poseidon had proven itself, and the world would never be the same. Military planners everywhere scrambled to rethink their strategies, knowing nothing was off limits anymore. The event was a cataclysm, unfolding faster than anyone could react. In less than a minute, history had changed, and the world was left reeling. The ocean burned, and with it, the old order. The flames on the water were a signal. The future would be written by new, terrifying weapons. The future was now uncertain and terrifying. As night fell over the empty sea, humanity faced a new era. One defined by fear, and the knowledge that nothing was truly safe anymore. Operation Atlantic Resolve was NATO's grand show of strength. Over 60 warships from 15 nations, converging in a rare display of unity and power on the open sea. At the heart of the armada were the giants, the USS Gerald R. Ford, HMS Queen Elizabeth, and Charles de Gaulle, each a symbol of their nation's naval might and technological prowess. The exercise was designed to demonstrate not just unity, but overwhelming technological superiority, with layers of air, sea, and underwater defenses working seamlessly together. F-35s and drones filled the skies, weaving a web of surveillance and deterrence above the fleet. Below, submarines and destroyers formed an impenetrable shield, their sonar and weapon systems constantly scanning for threats. Commanders surrounded by digital maps and real-time data felt invincible, protected by the world's most advanced systems and the combined strength of allied navies. The fleet sailed in perfect formation, every vessel moving in harmony, projecting power and confidence across the waves. But this was a formation built for conventional threats, ones they could see, track, and respond to with overwhelming force. The belief was that nothing could breach their defenses, that every possible danger had been anticipated. Yet beneath the surface a silent hunter approached, undetected and patient, exploiting the fleet's overconfidence. The fleet's confidence would soon prove fatal, as the unthinkable began to unfold. The shield of cruisers and destroyers bristling with weaponry and sensors, the outer ring of vigilant frigates, none would matter in the face of what was coming. The exercise was a textbook display of modern doctrine, a carefully choreographed ballet of steel and strategy, but it was about to be rendered obsolete. The enemy was not above the waves, but deep below, hidden in the silent darkness where no radar could reach. The sense of security was an illusion, a fragile comfort in the face of an invisible threat. The world's most powerful armada was sailing straight into the unknown, unaware of the danger lurking beneath. They were prepared for every threat, except the one they couldn't see, a threat that would change everything. Deep in the Kremlin, the weapon was called Status 6. NATO called it Poseidon, not just a torpedo, but a nuclear-powered, nuclear-armed autonomous underwater drone. Western analysts dismissed it as propaganda, until September 8th proved them wrong. Poseidon was 80 feet long, powered by a miniaturized nuclear reactor, able to cross oceans undetected. Its stealth was unmatched sound-dampening hull, ultra-quiet propulsion, and the ability to crawl along the ocean floor. It could loiter for weeks, waiting for the order to strike. Its AI guidance system allowed it to navigate, analyze, and select targets autonomously. It could distinguish between destroyers and carriers, prioritizing the most valuable. No constant communication was needed, making it impossible to jam or intercept. Poseidon was a thinking, nuclear-tipped predator, built to be invisible, unstoppable, and terrifying. Weeks before the attack, Poseidon launched from a secret Russian submarine in the Arctic. It dove to over 3,000 feet, moving slowly and silently, evading NATO's sonar nets. The Gaiuk Gap, once a fortress, was crossed without a single alarm. Poseidon's AI mapped the sea floor, using canyons and mountains for cover. It listened, never emitting a signal, blending into the ocean's noise. As it neared the NATO fleet, the cacophony of warships made it easier to hide. The torpedo slipped past the outer defenses, undetected. Inside the exercise zone, it began identifying targets by their unique acoustic signatures. The USS Gerald R. Ford, HMS Queen Elizabeth, and Charles de Gaulle were pinpointed. Poseidon positioned itself beneath the heart of the fleet. The trap was set. NATO's most powerful ships, unaware, were seconds from destruction. The silent hunter had reached its prey. The only warning came from a U.S. Navy P-8 aircraft, its crew scanning the endless blue, searching for threats that might never appear. Suddenly, a faint, inexplicable sonar contact appeared, deep beneath the fleet, almost lost in the static of the deep ocean. Confusion reigned among the operators. The contact was too deep, too quiet, not matching any known submarine or vessel. It was a ghost in the water. A frantic alert was sent to the fleet's anti-submarine commander, every second now precious. But the contact was already beneath the USS Gerald R. Ford, the pride of the fleet, lurking unseen. Standard procedures were useless. There was no time to react, no playbook for this scenario. The realization hit like a shockwave. The threat was already inside their defenses, past every barrier. An emergency alert blared across the ships, but the enemy was already in position, ready to strike. At 14:02:46 GMT, Poseidon received its final command, one chilling word: execute. The AI initiated the detonation sequence for its 2-megaton warhead. 14 seconds remained, an eternity and an instant. On the ships, chaos erupted. Orders shouted, sailors scrambling to stations, alarms wailing, but it was already too late. The crews were fighting a battle already lost, bracing themselves for the inevitable. The countdown ticked away, the contact vanished from sonar, leaving only silence and dread. On the Normandy's bridge, the captain gripped the rail, knowing the end had come for his ship and crew. The mighty fleet's final moments were silent, desperate, and heartbreakingly brief. The countdown reached zero. The ocean held its breath, as if mourning the sudden devastating loss. At 14:03 GMT, Poseidon's warhead detonated 800 feet below the Atlantic. Millions of tons of seawater vaporized. A column of radioactive steam and debris shot miles into the sky. The 3 aircraft carriers vanished in an instant, their steel hulls turned to plasma. Thousands died instantly. No time to react, no chance to escape. A shockwave crushed nearby ships. A radioactive tsunami, over 300 feet high, radiated outward. Warships were tossed like toys, snapped in two, or rolled under. The aftermath was apocalyptic. Black skies, burning wreckage, and boiling, contaminated seas. Survivors on the periphery fought to save crippled, irradiated ships. Desperate cries for help filled the airwaves, but there was no one left to answer. NATO's naval heart had been obliterated in seconds. As the radioactive steam cleared, the scale of the disaster became clear. Nearly 13,000 dead or missing, entire crews lost, families shattered. The three carriers alone accounted for over 10,000 lives. In 14 seconds, NATO's naval command was decapitated. Over 30 warships destroyed. The financial loss was staggering, but the loss of naval supremacy was worse. The environmental catastrophe spread radioactive water, threatened marine life and coastlines. Scientists warned of a dead zone that could last decades. Survivors spoke of horror, white skies, waves blotting out the sun, glowing wrecks. The human and environmental toll would haunt the world for generations. The world's response was immediate and panicked. Washington went to DEFCON 2. NATO was in shock. The question, how to respond to a nuclear attack without triggering global war. World leaders condemned the strike, markets crashed, Russia claimed it was a defensive act, warning of overwhelming retaliation if provoked. The attack shattered the old balance of power. NATO's naval dominance was gone. Poseidon proved a single autonomous weapon could destroy a multi-billion-dollar fleet. The strategic calculus of the last 50 years was obsolete. A new Cold War began, one of shadows, AI, and unseen threats. The world teetered on the edge, desperate to avoid total annihilation. Diplomacy raced against the clock, as the world prayed for peace. The destruction of the NATO fleet marked the dawn of autonomous warfare. Poseidon was proof AI, nuclear power and autonomy could bypass all defenses. The age of the aircraft carrier was in question. Navies had to rethink everything. The focus shifted to underwater sensors, counter AI, and defensive drones. The attack raised ethical questions. Who is responsible when a machine decides to kill? The world was now more dangerous, assumptions shattered. The Poseidon's legacy was not just destruction, but a new, terrifying reality. War had become autonomous, instantaneous, and catastrophic.